Hello Wolfpack, this is the most important video I've done in a little while. This is going over what is most likely to happen to Bitcoin over the next year, basically, for the rest of 2022, right? And this is what this video is, and that's what we're going to be looking into today. So, what is most likely to happen to Bitcoin over 2022? Very simple. What we do know about Bitcoin is that we are taking the 4-year cycle theory very seriously right now, but I think that the November to December bottom might be a little bit too late, right? We have to understand that the 4-year cycle theory, although very accurate in predicting vague trends and vague tops and vague bottoms, is not necessarily a theory in which you should be taking, or a measurement in which you should be taking to measure the exact time, the exact date of a bottom or top. What we can notice about the 4-year cycle theory is from top to top and bottom to bottom on both occurrences and 2 cycles. So four data points here. We've seen the number 1,400 come up a few times. Now, obviously, it's not the exact number. Right? We had 1,435 days. We had 1,477 days. That's a whole month and a half that we have a bit of a leadway there to move with. And so you can see that although there are consistencies, they are very vague, right? And so, this 4-year cycle theory isn't meant to predict when the bottom is going to be to the day. And so I would argue that, although it says November to December, possibly even October is where the bottom's going to be in the 4-year cycle theory, I would argue that we need to look into something else to find a little bit more precise answer, right? And that would be the trend that's going on between 2018 and 2022 right now, right? As you guys would know, and if you don't know, we are in a very similar market pattern to what we were in 2018. And all we need to do is take a fractal from 2018 and a dead cat bounce period to know that, right? I do this quite often, but let's just do it again here. Look at that. Very similar market pattern to what we're doing in 2018. Obviously following the 4-year cycle still as well. And so, we basically are in a second version of a 2018 bear market right now. Now, we need to find similarities between 2018 and the current price action in 2022/2021 to find out what's really going on here. And what we can see is that fractal is lining up with the 200-day SMA. It's also lining up with the bull market support band, right? And it's also lining up with the 50-week and 200 on the weekly, but we're not going to look at that right now. We're just going to look at the daily chart quickly here. Okay, so what we can see, first and foremost, is that in 2018, in the same period of time of this fractal's playing out, we can see that we had an uptrending line, right? So I drew an uptrending line in 2018 here, and what essentially happened is this uptrending line acted with the 200-day quite accurately, right? So what happened was we had the capitulation initially, we wicked down to the line, it started forming, we broke above the 200, we lurked above it, came back down to the line, came up to the line again, rejected off of it, and then dropped below the line, rejected off the 200 once again, and then consolidated and crashed, right? There's a lot of steps there, so there's a lot of things to remember when comparing to 2022, which is what we're currently doing. But essentially, it's exactly the same, okay? Because what we have here in 2022, right, is the initial capitulation. Okay, so we have the initial capitulation, we have an uptrending line. What we've actually done is had the initial capitulation come down to the uptrending line for a wick, jumped upwards, failed to break above the 200-day, right? Retested the 200-day, came back down to the line. So it's not exactly the same, but you can see that there are very much, very, very strong similarities here. And if we remove all of these lines, because we don't want to have 50,000 lines on the screen, I'll be back in 2 seconds. We can start to see the similarities, right? So Bitcoin had one retest here in 2018, another retest. After the second retest, it shot up, rejected off the 200, and dropped below the line, okay? We've had one retest here in 2022, another retest. After the second retest, we shot up, rejected off the 200, and we expect to see a little bit of consolidation, just like 2018, before dropping below the line, okay? So where would we go after we drop below the line? And this isn't new information, right? I've been saying this for a long time. This has been my opinion for a while now, okay? So where would we go after we drop below the line? Well, in 2018, we could see we went just below the initial wick, right? The initial wick down to the line back earlier in the year, okay? So we can expect that we will be retesting just below 34K, which is where we wick to. So say 32K is where we can expect to go, or 33K, somewhere like that on Bitcoin. We expect within the next few weeks here on Bitcoin to be retesting 32K, just like in 2018. From that region, we will see a bounce back up to the 200, wherever that may be. It might be at, say, 42K, bounce back up there to the 200, and then consolidate for a bit before a crash, right? That's exactly what's happening here on Bitcoin in 2018. We're following that quite perfectly, and given the fact that we're seeing the same price action as 2018, in the same 4-year cycle theory, with the same similarities in the 3-day chart, we can expect that is what's going to happen for the remainder of 2022 there, okay? So why, when am I expecting this crash to happen? Just be a little bit more precise here. Well, we can get a pretty clear idea of that by using the 50 and the 200 on the 3-day chart, okay? And we've spoken about this before, we'll speak about it again. Essentially, on the 3-day chart, we're seeing a very similar compression to 2018, right? We were compressing between the 50 and the 200 on the 3-day chart. When these lines cross, when these MAs cross, we saw a 50% capitulation, okay? When these MAs cross, and that's going to be in around mid-May in 2022, we might be seeing a similar capitulation, right? So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And so this drop could come as early as late May or mid-May or something like that, right? In May somewhere. The drop could come as early as mid-May or late May, and it could be as late as probably November or December, right? But the point is, we're coming into a time in which basically any week now, we can expect something like that to happen after the 50 and 200 cross on the 3-day chart. So that is what's most likely to happen for the remainder of 2022, right? And I suppose a lot of people would already know my opinions on this market, and they would know already what I'm expecting. But what I am expecting is a retest of 200-week SMA. And we can go to the weekly chart right now, and we can show you where the 200-week SMA is, and we can show you why that is, right? And then we'll wrap this all together in a clean conclusion, because I know it's been a bit jumping between charts, a bit messy here in this video. But what typically happens to Bitcoin is when we lose the 50-week, right, lost it here in 2013, we end up at 200, okay? We lost the 50-week, end up at 200. We lost the 50-week again, end up at 200. And then, okay, here in 2022, during the COVID drop, we lost the 50-week, we end up at 200, okay? So it's happened three separate times, I should say. And then as for the 200 itself, that is the macro bottom for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has never been below the 200-week SMA, right? We held it for about, let's see, 8 months in 2015. We held it for about November to April. We held it for about 5 months in 2018, so that's 13 months. And then we held it for a month during the COVID drop. So 14 months of Bitcoin's lifespan has been spent retesting the 200-week SMA, and not one singular week out of those 14 months have we closed below it, right? So the 200-week SMA is a very strong macro bottom. And so, yeah, I would expect this drop to happen on Bitcoin down to the 200-week SMA, which would be at around 24K by the time we get there. And I would expect that to be the bottom. Now, the question is, when would we get there? And obviously, I just showed you kind of a couple of different theories. One of them is the 4-year cycle, which suggests December or November we get there. And then the other one is the daily chart, which is looking at sorry, not the daily chart, the 3-day chart on Bitcoin, which is looking at the 200 and the 50-week SMA and the 50 SMA, right? And those would suggest we crash down in May and get there by around June. So there's two theories here. I don't know which one to go by because they're both very, let's just say, preliminary, right? There's not really too much to go off with them, but there's two theories. One of them is we crash down to the 200-week SMA in May or June. The other one is we crash down to the 200-week SMA in November or December. There is no theory that I'm seeing here that suggests we pump up to 100K on Bitcoin, okay? So just making a quick video to analyze that and bring it back to the reality of the situation, which is we're pretty bearish on Bitcoin. And I'll just show you one more fractal here using the daily chart because I want to bring this up, and I thought this was pretty interesting to look at. Now, I looked at Benjamin Cohen's video this morning. I'm not the biggest fan of Benjamin Cohen, but I did watch his video this morning. I thought this was pretty interesting. Bringing back up the daily chart with this uptrending line and what would happen if we lose it, we can expect that we're around here in 2018. And if we bring that all the way down to the capitulation and apply that to the current price action somehow, we can kind of get a prediction of what will happen with Bitcoin next regarding the 2018 price action. So it's going to look something like that. Right, that's very similar to what happened in 2018 regarding that uptrending line. And that would bring us down to, around 20K. Right, 24K is what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting 20K, but it's the same price region. And that just gives you an idea of what Bitcoin will look like if it continues to follow 2018. Because it has followed 2018. It's not like I'm predicting something that's so abnormal, right? Oh, dude, it's not like I'm saying, Bitcoin's going to follow 2018 exactly. There's no evidence for that. The evidence is right there. I mean, look at this chart for a second. The evidence is right there. The similarities are massive between 2018 and 2022. And so it's not a good big leap to say something that is happening will continue to happen. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is something that's happening following 2018 price action will continue to happen. And this is what will happen to Bitcoin if it continues to happen. And just for argument's sake, right, that would place the bottom in November, which would be in line with the 4-year cycle theory, right? So again, I would probably lean towards the November to December bottom, but it is kind of a possibility here that we do see something earlier, like a May to June bottom. That's something we need to be considering as well. But essentially, directions for Bitcoin is downwards. There's lots of evidence to support that, and these are a couple of theories as to how we could get there. What we can be certain of is, regardless of whether we crash next month or we crash much later in the year in like October, what we can be certain of is that until we crash, we will just be consolidating within the structure, right? And what we can be certain of as well is that for the next few days, we might just be seeing some chop around this region before making a move. And what we can be certain of, again, just adding to that as well, is that we probably will be seeing one more move up to the upside, up to the 42k region, to retest like the 200-day or the bull market support band. So one more move up, one more dead cat bounce really before the big capitulation. Those are a few things we can be quite confident in. But ultimately, I think 48k on the move upwards recently was the top of the bear market. We won't go higher than that. I really doubt we will. That's my opinion. And so, yeah, I think that the top's in for the bear market here, and I think we're just waiting for the bottom now. So let's see how it goes. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll have an update for the actual Bitcoin chart, like the live Bitcoin chart tomorrow. I just thought I'd do this video because it's pretty interesting. It's a lot of information. I know, like, I just chucked a bunch of information at you, and you're probably just thinking, well, what was that, but it's quite a complicated topic. It's quite complicated trying to predict when the bottom will be. Predicting where the bottom will be is a bit easier because we have historical data to kind of give us an indication of where that will be in regards to the 200-week SMA and the 50-week SMA. But in terms of where, in terms of when, it's very hard because, even when we're talking about general technical analysis, like the hourly chart, if you have a symmetrical triangle on the hourly chart, for example, breaks the upside, realistically, there's no real way to determine how long it's going to take to go upwards. You just kind of have a rough indication. So that's what we're trying to battle with right now. So for everyone trying to say when will the bottom be, it's kind of hard to say. And I think this video kind of went over a bit of that right now. But, I'd say either like June or November, December, but most likely probably November, December, if I'm honest. Check out the Crypto Academy. Learn to trade course, become a trader. We're releasing the release date for that very shortly. And so you want to check that Telegram group in the description below to be the first one to see when that release date is and see pre-order information. You can pre-order if you want to for a lower price. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry for a bit of a confusing video, but catch you in the next one. Cheers.